From fellowshipoftheminds.com, Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg favors decriminalizing pedophilia and child sex trafficking. Posted by Dr. Eowyn. The legal definition of age of consent is as follows. Age of consent refers to the legally defined age at which a person is no longer required to obtain parental consent to get married. It also refers to the age at which a person is held to have the capacity to voluntarily agree to sexual intercourse. Sexual intercourse with a person under the age of consent may lead to criminal charges of statutory rape or sexual assault. Statutory rape is sex between an adult and a minor below the age of consent. Every state has a statutory rape law in some form. The age of consent varies from state to state, but is generally from 16 to 18 years of age. Consent of the victim and belief that the victim is of the age of consent are usually considered immaterial. A pedophile is an adult with sexual fondness for and activity with children, meaning minors below the age of consent. Pedophilia is legally defined as sexual child abuse. Any sexual activity with a minor below the age of consent, which includes fondling a child's genitals, intercourse, incest, rape, sodomy, exhibitionism, and commercial exploitation of children through prostitution or the production of pornographic materials. Since the age of consent in the United States, which varies from state to state, is from 16 to 18, lowering the age of consent to 12 would legalize pedophilia of children aged 12 and above. That is exactly what Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a Clinton appointee and daughter of Russian Jewish immigrants, recommends in a co-authored book that led to sweeping changes made by the federal government in the name of sex equality. And she is a ghastly, ugly creature to behold. Looks a little bit like Howard Stern. In 1977, when Ginsburg was general counsel of the ACLU, something that most of us are not aware of, she co-authored with Brenda Feigen-Fastow, Sex Bias in the U.S. Code, a report of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, which was published by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights in April 1977, for which Ginsburg and Feigen-Fastow were paid with federal funds under contract number CR3AK010. The source of the information and quotes from Sex Bias in the U.S. Code you'll read below. Executive Director of Eagle Forum Susan Hirschman's testimony regarding Ruth Bader Ginsburg to the Senate Judiciary Committee, July 23, 1993. The 230-page Sex Bias in the U.S. Code identifies hundreds of federal laws alleged to discriminate against women and recommends an avalanche of government and social changes, including military draft and combat duty for women, legalization of prostitution, sex integration of prisons, reformatories, schools, and colleges and their activities, including sports, all girls and all boys organizations, and fraternities and sororities, changing the names of the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and Big Brothers of America to reflect sex integration, elimination of the traditional family concept of husband as a breadwinner and wife as homemaker, comprehensive government child care, adoption of sex-neutral language, for example, artificial instead of man-made, person, human, instead of man and woman, plural nouns, they and them, instead of singular third-person pronouns. At the same time, however, Ginsburg and Feigen-Fastow hypocritically insist that the U.S. Department of Labor retains its Women's Bureau. Ginsburg wrote on page 102 of Sex Bias in the U.S. Code, eliminate the phrase carnal knowledge of any female, not his wife, who has not attained the age of 16 years, and substitute a federal, sex-neutral definition of the offense. A person is guilty of an offense if he engages in a sexual act with another person, and the other person is, in fact, less than 12 years old. Ginsburg and her co-author also recommend that the Mann Act be repealed, M-A-N-N. The Mann Act is a federal law passed in 1910, which makes it a felony to engage in interstate or foreign commerce transport of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery or for any other immoral purpose. From Sex Bias in the U.S. Code, pages 98 and 99, the Mann Act poses the invasion of privacy issue in an acute form. The Mann Act also is offensive because of the image of women it perpetuates. It was meant to protect from the villainous interstate and international traffic in women and girls. Those women and girls who, if given a fair chance, would, in all human probability, have been good wives and mothers and useful citizens. In other words, if Ruth Bader Ginsburg has her way, sexual abuse of children 12 years or older would not be a crime, nor would child sex trafficking. Ginsburg will be 84 next month. May President Trump be given the opportunity to nominate her replacement on the Supreme Court. Or in other words, maybe this old bag will drop dead.